spicy decks of the week. Now, all of these decks had success by either reaching King in Games, going on a win streak at the King Games or Legend level, or by having success in tournament. Starting off, we have an Exodia FTK deck that is taking advantage of Treasure Panda. Now, this is a really cool level 4 monster. It says you can banish up to 3 spells or traps from your graveyard face down, and special summon a normal monster from your deck with an equal level to the number that you banished. Of course, all of the Exodia cards, with the exception of Head, are level 1 normal monsters, so you can just banish any card from your graveyard or any spell or trap, and bring one out from your deck. You can also bring out the Flamvell cards and use them to go in the Formula Synchron to draw cards, but once you bring out your Exodia pieces, you can use things like Wonder Wand and White Elephant's Gift to draw extra cards, and of course the Treasure Panda is not a once per turn effect. You can do it over and over again, and we have plenty of spell cards to fill up our graveyard with as well as a couple of Summoner Monk to help get the Treasure Panda to the board also. So a lot of cool tricks we can do with this. This is the third different Exodia deck we've had this year that's had success with the in the FTK department, so really excited to give this one a try. I've tried out the other two and I haven't tried this one yet, so looking forward to doing that. We'll probably do a full deck profile breakdown of it at some point. Next up, we have a Harpy Lady deck list. Now, this one is taking advantage of the Red Rain trap card. We saw this come out with the Red Dragon Archfiend support a few months back. Really powerful trap card that says if you control a level 8 or higher Synchro monster, banish all monsters on the field except the monster with the highest level. And it's of course unaffected by any other card effects for the rest of the turn. So Cyber Slash Harpy Lady of course fits the bill there. It's a level 8, so it's gonna be bigger than just about anything your opponent's gonna summon out before they make their full play. So as your opponent's going into their combo, they'll summon a couple monsters. You Red Rain, banish their board. Can definitely make things very problematic for your opponent to try to out your field when you have this kind of really explosive trap card behind you. We're not running a Dark Dragon Synchro type monster in our extra deck to be able to get this card back, but I suppose that would be an option as well that you could try doing. But really nice to see that we're finding a way to use this in other decks besides just the Red Dragon Archfiend deck. Another couple things to note, of course, Swallow's Nest is off the ban list. This did happen a couple of lists ago, I do believe now, but Swallow's Nest off the list. Some nice extra support for this deck to help with their field spell. Another thing that came out fairly recently is the Lightning Chidori, this level 4 wind monster in the extra deck. It came out in January in the selection box, but we only got it a few months back in the main box, so if you didn't get it back in January when it first came out, it is available now in a main box, but it's a really powerful card. Any 2 level 4 wind monsters can make it, so a lot of decks can use it. Well, not a lot of decks, but any wind deck can use it that has level 4 monsters. And it says, if this card is XYZ summoned, target a set card your opponent controls and return it to the bottom of the deck, and then once per turn you can detach a material, target a face-up card your opponent controls, and return it to the top of their deck. So you can summon this thing, send something to the bottom of the deck, and then detach, send something to the top of the deck. Really great way to remove 2 cards from your opponent's side of the field. Can be really devastating at the right time, being able to have that double removal with the XYZ monster. So, and of course you have plenty of other rank 4s in there, as well as the Harpy deck has great access to the rank 4 toolbox. Next up, we have a Mech Knight list that is doing a couple of different cool tricks here. So we've seen a lot of Mech Knight decks use some kind of skill that gives them a face-up spell card, some kind of spell card that gives them an extra column or a way to make a column, right? You need 2 cards in one column to be able to special summon your Mech Knight monster, so having something like It's a Toon World to be able to put a card out in the field to sort of help create that column is really helpful. But in this deck, we're taking advantage of the fact that Toon World's on our field. They use the card Comic Hand. Comic Hand is basically like a snatch steal, right? If you control Toon World, equip this to an opponent's monster and take control of it. It's also treated as a toon, and if your opponent doesn't control a toon, it can attack your opponent directly. So, but of course, if Toon World's not on the field, this card gets destroyed. So you have to have Toon World to have this active, but of course, with our skill, we always do. So you basically just have 3 live snatch steals in your deck to be able to take your opponent's monsters at any time and either XYZ off with them, or just attack with them, try to finish off your opponent, and get some quick wins against them with it. But in addition to that, we also have another cute trick that we're doing in here. We have a Deal with Dark Roller. So this card says, if a level 8 or higher monster under your control was sent to the graveyard this turn, special summon a Berserk Dragon from your hand or deck. Just really simple effect, and of course with us being able to so easily summon out a level 8 Mech Knight monsters and then link them off, send them to the graveyard, we can very easily trigger our skill. And Berserk Dragon is really powerful. You can only special summon it with this spell card, but when you do, this card can attack all of your monsters on your opponent, or all of your monsters that your opponent controls, once each. So, and it has 3,500 attack points. So that alone is usually enough to be able to finish off your opponent if they have a couple things on their board. Attack with this a couple times. Plus, you probably have a Link monster that you still have on your board in order to send your Mech Knights to the graveyard. Really easy to use this to OTK your opponent and deal massive amounts of damage to them. Really cool little tricks that we're finding ways to use Mech Knights, and some innovative ideas going with the deck now. And last but not least, we have a burn strategy that's taking advantage of the Time Lords, as well as a number of different trap cards that we have access to now, and some recent ban list changes that are helping here. So we have the 2 copies of Scrap Iron Scarecrow now. This card was released and was initially hit to 1, but now it's at 2, which means we can use 2 copies of this, as well as a limit 1 like Mirror Force. But we also have access to other trap cards like Magic Cylinder, Ring of Destruction, which are out as well now, as well as several other burn traps. We have Just Desserts and things like Secret Blast in this deck now. And when you combine that with the Time Lords, we have, I think it's like 5 or was it like 7 different Time Lords here that burn our opponent's life points. We have the one monster that halves our opponent's life points. We have the one here that deals 1,000 damage, and then we also have the Lazion, the Time Lord, the one that can burn your opponent for 500 damage, but can also banish all the cards out of your opponent's graveyard, or rather shuffle all their cards from their graveyard into their deck. And this is really effective against the Blackluster Soldier deck, which is the top deck in the game right now. Definitely the tier 1 deck that is dominating in tournaments and events. So being able to shuffle all their cards from their graveyard back into their deck can really set that deck back quite a bit. But then on top of that, we still have room for a couple of Ice Dragon's Prisons in here, so plenty of cool things with this deck. And it's also pretty budget as well. The extra deck isn't really heavily needed for this deck, and the things that you can get in here, like the Sky Palace, like they're just like a rare Nightmare card or something that most players you should hopefully have by now. It's a really good staple card to have, like Nightmare Phoenix and stuff like that. But for the most part, you really don't use the extra deck too much. This is a really good budget deck to go into as well, especially because things like Scrap Iron Scarecrow come from the Card Trader. Mirror Force and Magic Cylinder are both from a special campaign, so I think you can get them both with gems as well. Secret Blast is a rare or a common, so plenty of cheap cards in this deck that you can use as well. Of course, the Time Lords themselves are budget, but really neat deck here. Oh yeah, and of course, Chain Reaction. You got to burn your opponent for 200 every time you activate a trap card. That's important too. Don't forget about Chain Reaction. Very, very important part of this deck. But yeah, this is a really cool deck. I usually don't like burn strategies, but this one's actually pretty cool, and who knows, maybe I'll give it a shot. Usually I don't like burn decks, but maybe I'll give this one a shot. Maybe we'll do a full deck do a full deck profile on it. Anywho, all the deck lists are in the descriptions. If you guys would like to see me do a deck profile on this or any of the other decks that we showcase today, do let me know in the comment section. If you guys do like the video, please be sure to like, subscribe, or would help out the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of the day.